50 gigatons. How dare you pretend that this can be solved with just business as usual and some technical solutions? With today's emissions levels, that remaining CO2 budget will be entirely gone within less than 8.5 years. There will not be any solutions or plans presented in line with these figures here today, because these numbers are too uncomfortable and you are still not mature enough to tell it like it is. You are failing us, but the young people are starting to understand your betrayal. The eyes of all future generations are upon you. And if you choose to fail us, I say we will never forgive you. We will not let you get away with this. Right here, right now, is where we draw the line. The world is waking up, and change is coming whether you like it or not. Thank you.
Wow, indeed.
That's a voice,
powerful.
If that's a voice of a mental ill person, first of all, her syllables, the length of her sentences, and the amount of syllables in a word, you can take an IQ test just off the way a person speaks. You could put Trump's up there, which are ranked probably about 7th grade. Mm-hmm. Just the absolute syntax. That is an intelligent young woman, a passionate young woman. She's been attacked mercilessly. I have to share this.
We'll get into that because I've got the clips all lined up and ready to go. Should we do it?
Well, I want to just insert this. This is a response that these idiot right-wing guerrillas came up with to this girl. This is a leading Christian pastor. This isn't just any pastor. This is Robert Jeffries, who is the president's personal advisor. On Fox radio program this Monday, this church pastor and spiritual advisor to Trump said that climate change activist Greta Thunberg needs to stop worrying about the imaginary climate change crisis and just read the Bible. According to Jeffries, climate change is nothing to worry about because God already promised not to destroy the world again with rising sea levels after the Great Flood. Any one of these Neanderthals dare call the scientifically based speech you just heard coming from a mentally ill person, and instead of that, we're told that because of a passage in a Bible, a crusty old religious document, there is no scientific truth to what this young lady said? It's beyond the pale, Darren. I was half asleep. I was a little tired this morning. I'm wide awake now.
Yeah. Oh, you just need to read the Bible instead of worry about climate change, really.
I got news for you. You and Betsy DeVos and all your right-wing knuckleheads, the Bible ain't a science book.
Yeah, let me just be even more succinct than that. You folks out there that want to take a 2,000-year-old book of fiction wrote by men to control other men and all women, if you take that book seriously, you're the ones that are mentally ill. And I'll go right on record and say that right now. And if you don't like it, you can turn this show off and you can keep it off.
Well, you can also turn it off from my point of view. It's the same crusty, old, archaic piece of fairy tale that the entire nation of Israel uses to claim they own the land, which they're poisoning now and bombing every day, that God gave them a deed that's a few thousand years old, and they're going to capitalize on it.
I'll tell you what, I'll go one step further because I haven't been controversial nearly enough lately. If you have to follow a book of fiction written 2,000 years ago in order to dictate how you're supposed to treat other people, that says a lot more about you than it does me. Right there it is, folks. All right, I need to get into this because my blood pressure is getting high.
Yeah, we need to take a deep breath.
Yeah, it's hammer time. It's time to drop the hammer on the douchebag of the week, and we've got 3 of them lined up for you today, folks. And they all are people that have picked on Greta Thunberg. Candidate number 1, or winner number 1, or loser, depending on what where you're at on this. Number 1, Michael Knowles, who apparently has some sort of podcast floating around, was on Fox Propaganda Channel the other day, and started running diarrhea of the mouth with this.
None of that matters because the climate hysteria movement is not about science. If it were about science, it would be led by scientists rather than by politicians and a mentally ill Swedish child who is being exploited by her parents and by the international left. So what you're seeing here is a political movement and a religious movement, and it's fulfilling religious and political goals of the left, but it isn't doing very much for science.
Chris, you had a visceral reaction to that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you're a grown man and you're attacking a child. Shame on you. She's trying to do what she thinks is right. And by the way, now relax, skinny boy. I got this. Okay, you're attacking a child. You're a grown man. Have some cool.
I'm not. I'm attacking the left for exploiting a mentally ill child.
Maybe on your podcast, you get away and say whatever you want because nobody's listening. You're on national television. Be a grown up when you're talking about children. She's trying to save the planet because your president doesn't believe in climate change, and kids need to take to the streets to worry about their future. You are despicable for talking to her about her like that, and you should apologize on national television right now.
I think the international left and her parents who are exploiting a girl with many mental illnesses.
You called her mentally ill. Take it back now.
She is mentally ill. Take it back now. She is mentally ill. She has autism. She has obsessive compulsive disorder. She has selective mutism. She had depression.
You are despicable.
Her mother wrote about.
Yeah, he is despicable. And by the way, Fox Propaganda Channel had to apologize on air, and Michael Knowles is no longer going to be invited on that network. So I'll give credit where credit is due. I'll give credit to Fox Propaganda Channel for doing the right thing and kicking this hate-filled son of a bitch off the air.
But they did have our friend Ingram, though, on Fox.
Oh, I haven't even gotten to her yet. I've got one more to get to. I'm going to go in a little chronological order here.
So is Laura next?
Donald Trump is next. So Donald Trump, I have this. This is from Veronica Stockwell-Arce writing for CNN. Donald Trump mocked Swedish climate activist Greta Thunberg on Twitter late Monday night after the 16-year-old excoriated world leaders for not doing enough to tackle the climate crisis. Here's what Trump posted on Twitter. Quote, "She seems like a very happy young girl looking forward to a bright and wonderful future. So nice to see." End of quote. Trump's penchant for Twitter insults and online confrontations with people he sees as political adversaries is well known, though Monday's tweet is a striking display of Trump teasing a child. They say the president. I'm not even going to acknowledge that.
Don't waste your breath.
Because he's an orange-skinned... I can't use the word.
Got to let that edit.
Yep. Thunberg appeared to take Trump's slight in stride. By late Tuesday morning, she had updated her Twitter bio to read, quote, "A very happy young girl looking forward to a bright and wonderful future."
Yeah.
Well,
Trump.
at least she's taking it in stride. Somebody ought to be throwing tomatoes at Trump for that. Or shoes like they did George Bush in Iraq. And then winner number 3, Laura Ingraham, got on Fox Propaganda Channel and started with this.
The adults who've brainwashed these kids should be brought up on charges of child abuse. We should be reassuring the young people and telling them that the science shows that climate trends that we're experiencing are natural. They're cycles. They've happened. And it's not something to get that upset about. Honey, go back to school. Calm down. It's going to be okay. Reassure them. Instead, the media fans the fanaticism, covering a UN speech by a 16-year-old climate activist. She's quite articulate, though, Greta Thunberg, as if she were the second coming of Golda Meir.
You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words. People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you?
So I guess we should surrender the global economy to kids who become manipulated because they believe their future is doomed. They've been told it's doomed. I have one question. Should the kids set their own dietary standards and their homework assignments too? Because my kids want to get in on that.
Yeah, well, that ain't the worst of it.
Hang on, before we leave Laura, I gotta just point out. That,
no, I ain't leaving her yet. There's one more clip that I want to play because she also mentioned this as well.
The implication is, of course, that to ensure the future, everyone must sign on to these globalist solutions. Cede control of our economy, our way of life, our way of transport, how many children you want to have, and if we don't go along, we will be punished by our own children.
Young people are starting to understand your betrayal. The eyes of all future generations are upon you. And if you choose to fail us, I say we will never forgive you. We will not let you get away with this. The world is waking up. And change is coming whether you like it or not.
Anyone else find that chilling?
A time of tribulation has come. A test is at hand. The final test.
I can't wait for Stephen King's sequel, Children of the Climate.
Yeah, she played a clip of Children of the Corn there to make fun of Greta Thunberg.
You know, you're making fun, you're making fun of Greta. Laura, do you realize she's got blonde hair and blue eyes? Come on, not somebody a Nazi would typically attack.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what. Ed Schultz, the late, great Ed Schultz, had this right about Laura Ingraham.
This right-wing slut, what's her name, Laura Ingraham? Yeah, she's a talk slut.
The redhead had it right back then.
Yeah.
Let me tell you. And he had to apologize for that. You know what, Laura Ingraham, you need to apologize for being a bully to a 16-year-old. Talk slut isn't the word I have for you. It's much worse.
Yeah,
I tell you what.
That was rough.
So for Laura Ingraham, for Michael Knowles, and for Donald Trump, winners of this week's Douchebag Award, we have this message for you.
Don't be a douchebag.
That's right. Boy, picking on a 16-year-old kid just makes you feel like a grown adult, doesn't it? Unbelievable, Jack. Unbelievable.
It is. And the substitute for scientific fact with myth, with political, and Ingram represents that. I just have to read a couple more words here. This
Real
is
quickly.
Jeffries. This is the guy that was attacking Greta. He said she doesn't realize God created the environment to serve us, not for us to serve the environment.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, just sit back. Let the corporations go, because God has a rainbow over the world. He promised. No, that's what he says that. He says in Genesis, it says there's a promise over the ice caps. There'll never be a flood again, and every time you see a rainbow, that's that promise. So forget facts. Forget the scientific intelligence that Greta displayed. Believe in a mythical rainbow as a promise. There you go.
Yeah.
The stations that carry Southpaws do not necessarily share the opinions expressed on the show. Southpaws is protected by the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution and is copyrighted by Big D Entertainment. All rights reserved.
And that's going to wrap things up for this week. We will be back next week with more fun and hijinks. I'm Darren Gibson.
I'm Jack Prince.
For our announcer, Kristen Cook, please support independent media and the First Amendment.